Hi, everyone. My name is Haroen. I'm CTO and founder of Luzmo. And my goal today is to tell you about a great Swiss Army knife that we discovered a couple of years ago called ClickHouse, our not-so-secret sauce. And also to tell you how we adopted ClickHouse, how it's helping us innovate and bring new products to the market faster, and just tell you what we learned. So just to get started, I need to tell you a little bit about Luzmo for the rest of the talk to make sense. Luzmo is a data visualization and reporting platform that you can put inside software, inside a software as a service product or another software platform to give insights at the right time to your clients. Now, how that works, I'm just going to give a very quick demo. So that looks like this. And this is the Luzmo interface. I made a connection here to the ClickHouse Playgrounds, which is an awesome resource, if you don't know it yet, to get started with a large data set. What I can do here is select my connection, add a data set. So I'm going to use a data set here that contains airplane on-time data from the Department of Transportation. I can go into dashboards just to do a sanity check. We are working here with a data set of 201 million rows. So it's not a small set. And what I can do here is, for example, look at number of flights by carrier, for example, or at a quick, let's see, a quick bubble chart where we are looking, for example, at the number of, delays at the arrival airport. And let's do that by destination city. That's here. I have to do it one-handed, so it goes a little bit slower. And I put this on average, for example, and voila, I have the average delays over, I think, 15 years or so of all flights that happened in the United States, and we see that Youngstown, Ohio is the one with the largest delays on average. Now, next step, you can embed this, generate a token, just put this code as a web component in your own platforms, and you have embedded dashboards. And then, of course, you can personalize them and make sure that people only see the right kind of things, etc. But I'm not going to go into too much further detail. Now, Luzmo is a federated platform. That's our philosophy. We are querying data in the data stores where it resides in real time. So we don't copy it to our site. That's important because our clients want their clients to do something in their platform and then click to the report, and it should be up to date. There should be no delays there. Now, initially we got started with ClickHouse in 2017, so it's been a long ride. And initially it started like this, just as a connector. And we're always very happy if our clients use ClickHouse, and if they're not using ClickHouse yet, we gently nudge them to start using it, because in general, we have a lot fewer problems with performance of dashboards if clients are using ClickHouse. Now, over time, we also got questions like, can't you store data? We want to upload some data sets just for proof of concept or reference data. We want to push events through the API, etc. And so we decided to also offer data storage by Luzmo. But of course, this is all just powered by ClickHouse in the background. So we run a managed ClickHouse warehouse for our clients. We don't advertise that it's ClickHouse. Perhaps we should do that more, but we do tell them if they ask. Now, as you've understood, we see the future, more like this. So we really believe that that in 5 or 10 years, ClickHouse will be even more in all kinds of places. Now, along the way, we exist for 10 years this year. So along the way, we encountered all kinds of interesting problems working with customers. And of course, one of the most crucial problems is that data lives everywhere. I think the first company that has all their data neatly organized in a single data store still needs to be founded. And secondly, the performance is critical, because our dashboards are inside another application, and people don't really recognize that they're leaving a custom-coded platform and move into a reporting module. The dashboard should load very quickly. So we often hear about a Tableau report loading for 10 seconds or 30 seconds or even 30 minutes. Our clients expect the dashboards to load in under 500 milliseconds. So that brings some engineering challenges. So that's why ultimately we decided to build our own query engine that optimizes for a very specific combination of requirements. So one is that data can be queried across sources, and we integrate it in real time. So you could connect a ClickHouse with DB data, for example, because you haven't migrated all of the data yet, or you want to cross-check if your data is completely synced, or all kinds of other crazy use cases. The 500 millisecond constraint, and also combining queries. Because if you think about it, if you load a typical dashboard, there might be 20 to 50 to 100 different widgets that all need data that is kind of related to each other. So what do? We look at all of those 50 or 80 or whatever queries that come in, and we statistically optimize it into a minimal number of queries and data transfer that needs to happen that then runs on all of those different data systems. So it could be that those 50 queries are optimized into 2 or 3 queries, from which we then refine that data into the data that actually goes into the different charts. And we can actually do that in multiple steps. So we might be doing first a query to a small Postgres table to find some kind of filter keys that are then applied to a query to your ClickHouse cluster to optimize the queries. And there went my slides. There they are. Not yet? Yeah. That means I should talk faster. This system is in production now for a couple of years, and we've been scaling it up. So at the moment, we are processing on average about 100 million rows every second, so about 8 trillion rows per day. And about 10% of those hit our ClickHouse cluster, because it's hitting data that gets stored by us for our customers. So that's about 8 million rows per second that we read. And we write about 300,000 rows per second. So the scale has grown quite a bit over the years. Okay, another problem is that many of our clients, I hope there aren't too many around today, have outdated data stack. So they are using, for example, a Postgres database, not outdated, but it's their OLTP store, just powers their application, and they haven't invested yet in data, engineering components on top of it. They don't have a data stack yet, or they have a data stack that is a bit outdated. They might be using Teradata or similar kind of products. And we really believe that it's important to get started giving your client insights with your data today, because then you can learn from it and not wait until you reach the fairy tale of having all your data in one place, cleaned up, etc. It's a process. And so one of the options we offer there is called Warp. So it's another thing we built, of course, on top of ClickHouse. And what it's doing is synchronizing data from any of the connectors that we offer. So you could be ingesting MongoDB data, and we put it in ClickHouse for you. Now, we don't work at write head log or do change data capture. Well, we do logical change data capture, because we often don't have access very deeply in the architecture, and it also works with connectors that don't have a write-ahead lock. So for example, you can use HTTP-based connectors that directly call into an API. We can logically replicate those into ClickHouse, something that ClickPipes, of course, for example, could not do. But ClickPipes is better if you use one of the sources that support it. So it can really speed up analytical queries a lot, up to 350 times, even more, depending on the use case. So outdated data stacks, they don't use ClickHouse yet, is what we mean. So we actually make them use ClickHouse, even though they don't always know it. What's interesting is that we surprisingly saw a lot of warp usage from Snowflake users, which doesn't make sense because that is already a capable data warehouse. The reason has to do with performance sometimes, but also with the way that Snowflake prices their warehouse. So there are many clients who are not that happy about the credit usage of Snowflake if it's continuously hit throughout the day by end customers. So the way that they operate is run batch jobs at night, for example, then use Warp to synchronize to us, and the real-time queries coming from end users are directly on Luzmo systems and thus on ClickHouse. Okay, we had a lot of lessons. We did a lot of stupid things. To be honest, by not reading the documentation enough or not believing it. Luckily, ClickHouse has evolved also during the years. So initially, we ran our own ClickHouse cluster. That meant running Zookeeper also, not so fun. But ClickHouse launched their own ClickHouse Keeper in 2021. That's a lot easier to run. And we eventually also migrated to ClickHouse Cloud in 2023 when it became available, just to remove the work there that's not that's not our core business to be operating the databases. We are more trying to engineer solutions to dashboarding and reporting problems. Another issue we had is that and we thought, let's just create a new table for every data set that a client uploads, because we don't know the structure of a data set that a client brings to us. We only know it when we see the data for the first time. Now, unfortunately, ClickHouse really hates having a lot of tables. So if you have 50,000 or 100,000 tables, the performance can become problematic, and the stability of the cluster can be impacted. But we eventually changed to something like this, where we essentially throw everything into a big table, which surprisingly works very well. So we're just using kind of a dataset ID key and are using columns that we store in a map with a dynamic type, because we don't know the types that will be coming in. We are using some tiering here. So for the largest sets, they are still being created on the site. So if they cross a certain threshold for performance reasons, but most of the sets are relatively small, could be a CSV file that's uploaded, those go into the shared storage. Another example of us being stupid, sometimes when data comes in, it's often larger than what you can process in a single batch insert. But what happens is that the connection to the upstream data source could suddenly fail. And in that case, you don't want the data to actually become live. So what we originally did was creating a kind of temporary table, ingesting the data there, and then merging that into the main table. But all of these DDL operations are a stress for the system. So again, in the end, how to fix it is trust ClickHouse insert and read performance. So we are just inserting already the new data with a version key in the shared storage. But as soon as that upload fails, we just don't use that data anymore. So the current active data pointer is just not updated to the next version. It keeps to the previous version. There is some incomplete data in the table, we'll clean it up later. We just filter out that data at runtime, and that works extremely well. We also had some issues with dates older than 1600. Nobody uses those, right? Right. So we saw a lot of those. ClickHouse added some support for larger datetime ranges a couple of years ago. Okay. I also promised to tell you a little bit of how ClickHouse actually drives our innovation. I gave a couple of examples already, but I have a couple more. So this is a technology demo we call InstaChart. And how it works is like this. So you see me. And I actually did this small drawing before the meetup today. So it's just, you see a dashboard, ClickHouse New York Meetup. I just had an idea and I want to realize this as soon as possible. You see it shows attendees over time and the vibe and the origin country of the attendees. So I'm just going to put it in the view, missing a few hands here, and pressing enter. No. Yes, okay, that works out. And what it's going to do is analyze this drawing and check if you're not logged in, it's also going to create a demo data set and then making an interactive dashboard on top of that data that should look like this. We have a result. Okay, so we see here a line chart attendees over time. We have our experience distribution. We indeed have our attendees by country, Belgium, Germany, USA, and I have a drop down here. That wasn't the year that I draw, but it was a little bit unreadable, but we have the vibe here. Is it meh, or is it awesome? So you see the charts are interactive, they filter each other, etc. And if you're logged in, it actually uses the data sets that you have connected to our system. So it finds the most relevant ones. The most relevant ones. How do we do that? Well, we actually found out that ClickHouse is quite a good vector store. So there are more specialized products for extremely large data sets, but for our scale, it works really well, and we don't want to add another technology to our stack. So how it works is as follows. We create a table of vector embeddings, so a kind of a representation of a textual value in a feature space that kind of encodes the meaning of that text. And we are using a ClickHouse vector similarity index. And then we use a local LLM using Olama. We call the embeddings API, and we embed, for example, get ready to sink your teeth into the most realistic, tasty rubber pizza. And we're going to insert that into embeddings. And then to search for relevant documents or for relevant data sets or whatever, we're just using a select and calculate the cosine distance to find the similarity of what I'm looking for versus all of the documents that I stored. Now, we eventually didn't decide to make this into a product. It's a nice technology demo, but the business value might be a little limited. You would be interested?
No people who would.
Okay, let's talk. But we did reuse a part of this in a new product that we launched in November. That's called Luzmo IQ. And Luzmo IQ is a way to let your clients ask direct data questions. So they might be looking for a very specific piece of information or a very specific insight to get a task done, but they might not be sophisticated enough to go look into a dashboard or to build a dashboard themselves. So why not have a chat interface where you can ask these questions? So this is also a small demo of an e-commerce platform. So it has orders and reviews, etc. And what I can ask here is, for example, voilà, how are my delivery times evolving? And what it's going to do is break down that question into an answer strategy, and it can do multiple data queries using the query engine, etc., to find data in your data sets. And it's using ClickHouse to find the most relevant sets to your query. Oh. Screen is glitching a little bit. It can also do semantic search. So you can ask for, if you have review text, you can ask for things like, how many clients do I have that complain about product quality versus delivery quality? And then ClickHouse is used in the background to power those real-time segmentations. So here I see average delivery times have remained relatively stable, but there was an increase in March. Haha, suspicious. So I'm going to ask why, and nudging to shippers, perhaps, as things go in demos, right? And so we see the glitching is quite interesting. So the increase in delivery times appears to be influenced by specific shippers. For example, Slowboat Express has the highest average delivery times. And so it supports that insight, and that's been generated by multiple data queries, etc., with a chart that indeed shows the distribution here of average delivery times. You can actually see what the chart shows by clicking on the I button, and then you see it's a line chart of average shipping time by order date, etc., and you can make some changes there. Okay, that's most of what I wanted to tell you about. So I hope that I convinced you that that ClickHouse is a pretty neat tool, and we keep finding new ways to use it to bring products to the market faster. So it's been a pleasure using it. Voilà. If you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, talk to me later.
That was a great talk. What was the inception of that feature? The feature related to showing a photo of the drawing and turning that into an actual dashboard. Was that like over a bar? Like, wouldn't that be cool? What was that conversation like?
It was the introduction of GPT-4 Vision that spurred it. Like, whoa, wait, can't we just try to like upload a sketch? And then turn that into a dashboard, and that turned out to be pretty easy. And then we started thinking about how would this be useful for business, which is like the wrong order of thinking about it. Apart from when in a meeting being able to draw something and then immediately turn it into a dashboard, we didn't see the immediate demand. So that's why we decided to focus on IQ instead.
You may have a better way of doing this. What I was actually thinking wasn't a hand drawing.
Yep.
But if I have existing dashboards,
yes,
or sample dashboards, and I can take a screen capture and import it into the system and say, just do the best job you can replicating this.
Yeah. Yeah, we considered that, and also, for example, ingesting a Figma mockup of a dashboard that a product team or a designer has made, and then implementing that, without any further step. Perhaps we should retry it with more modern models, but at the time the quality was not good enough, in the sense that if you take a Power BI dashboard, just looking at the dashboard, you miss information. Like, what is the aggregation formula that you are using on a particular value? We only see the value, we don't see that aggregation formula.
Got it, makes sense.
Hey, thank you, that was great. Can you speak to your query engine a little bit? So you guys you were showing like dragging and dropping, is that presumably writing some custom query language? Can you talk about that?
Yes. So anything in the Luzmo platform, the drag and drop, or you can also build a dashboard using a JSON language. So we have clients doing that programmatically for certain use cases. That generates a JSON analytical query format that's close to MDX or DAX in the Microsoft world. That JSON is given to our query engine in Rust. It's, it works its magic, and then it translates that into different dialects or query languages depending on the different databases that we need to hit. So for ClickHouse, we might be translating to ClickHouse's SQL dialect and trying to make use of all the features that ClickHouse offers. And then for SQL Server, we translate to T-SQL and have less options to push down certain operators because it has some strange semantics here and there. Even for derived columns, we rewrite them on the fly to unify all of the semantics of all the databases that we support. Date diffs, for example, are slightly different in Postgres versus SQL Server, for example, in how they are, so you have some differences there, and we unify between them.
Do you have features like, let's say, you have schema?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, like if you got ClickHouse, you can use this, but if you don't have ClickHouse, you can't.
No. If a particular database that's connected is not capable of executing something, it happens in the query engine instead.
Oh, you just have to do it.
Yeah, so it might be that we request a little more data for that other type of database than a more capable store, but it still works.
Thanks so much. This is an awesome talk. I just wanted to ask about, in that last demo you did, it looked like you were generating some SQL based on some natural language prompt, because you were showing the graph, which I assume is the result of a ClickHouse query.
Yeah. We don't directly generate SQL. I believe that models will be capable of doing that in perhaps 6 months or a year. Nowadays, they fail a lot, and I believe that part of it is because the SQL is a textual-based language, and it's very easy to generate SQL that is syntactically correct but still doesn't work. Yeah. So what we generate is our multidimensional analytical query format in JSON. But we first do a step of breaking down the question, then we do multiple steps of query runs and potential semantic searches, and then summarize the output and generate a chart.
Thank you. That was really fun presentation.
Thanks.
I was wondering, from a product point of view, did you sort of already found the product market fit, or what type of client would come to you?
So we exist for 10 years now. We are embedded in about 250 different software platforms and SaaS platforms worldwide. I would say that 70% is real software as a service companies, we're embedded in the Marigold group, which is a marketing automation platform. There are many more examples. And the other 30% are other, what we call non-traditional software builders. So we have a large bank as a customer. We have several telco providers. And they are using Luzmo to put out new products into the market as well, move faster, for example, on doing location analytics. So telcos trying to monetize the telemetry that your cell phone sends to the masts. They know where you are, and they anonymize that data and sell it to various stakeholders. And what they sell is typically a dashboard, so they can roll that out faster with Luzmo.
Clients that could utilize it.
Okay, that's really very interesting.
I'm curious around when you connect to others' database, like they set up their own sort order on ClickHouse, they set up their own indices. Do you ever come back to them, tell them, hey, can you add an index here, or can you add another projection on this thing, or do you like somehow figure out the most optimal projection on your end when you replicate it to your ClickHouse instance? A
combination of the two. Mm-hmm. So yes, we try to take into account as much information that we can gather from a database. I think for example, about which columns are indexed, or we keep a column distribution, and what is the cardinality of a column, and what data sets are the values very uniformly distributed, or are there outliers, etc. You might want to, generate a query slightly differently if you're querying for the long tail of values versus if you're querying for, a value that is in 80% of your rows. Now we cannot cover everything, so that's a bit of consulting work during onboarding, etc., where a client might try something, it is a little bit slow, we help them out. We also have a feature where you can review every query that happened in the system, powered by ClickHouse, obviously. I didn't talk about that, but usage analytics, etc., is based on ClickHouse. You can filter for give me all slow queries during the last 2 weeks to review it, and then potentially make better indexing decisions based on that.
Let's give another round of applause for Haroen from Luzmo. Thank you very much.